What up, what up, what up? What is happening, good people? Welcome to this edition of Herb and Two alongside 95th's own Tucson. My name is Herb Howard. This is where we get together and talk about issues that currently impact the black community. We talk about how those issues impact us individually and also how they impact us as a collective. This is the perfect intersection of intellect and thuggery. Again, my name is Herb. His name is Two. Two, what's happening, good brother?
What's up, family? Blessed and highly favored, man. First, though, I want to say rest in peace to Nikki Giovanni. We lost a legend last night.
Giant.
We often reference Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin's conversation on here in context of like black relationships and how the dynamics are so different today than they were back then, but how we value that conversation. So just wanted to say rest in peace to the legend.
Nah, for sure. That was a job very well done, a life very well lived. Talk about freedom, talk about knowledge, talk about radical thought.
Talk about honesty.
That's a radical thing to do in society.
You know what I mean?
To think for yourself and be honest about what you see and what you feel, and do it in a way that's based with information, that's based with knowledge, intelligence, passion. She was as good as we've had. So anybody who has not seen the classic conversation between her and James Baldwin, certainly implore y'all to just go watch that conversation. That conversation should be studied in universities and households everywhere. Mm-hmm. Rest in peace to Nikki Giovanni for sure. Two, you was talking about some astrology stuff. We joke a lot about astrology in here. Aries, gang. Leo,
gang.
Sure. I mean, if you and E feel that way, but me and P, we rep the set.
My mic was off. You missed everything, all the stuff I just said, repping for the Leos.
What about it?
Okay, why you gotta put the camera on me and stuff? Nobody asked you to do that.
Leos.
Yeah.
Leos, man. Micromanage this man's job. No, y'all cool, man. I had never really, for the most part of my life, I had never really got into astrology like that. I really didn't. But in the past 5, 6, 7 years or so, I've kind of gotten into it. And I think there's a lot of truth to it, right? At first I was like, this idea that there are only 12 types of people is wild. But now I feel like it's probably not even 12 types of people, for real. But I do think there are a lot of, similarities. There's a lot of alignment. People I know that are Aries, we tend to get along pretty well. So now I kind of believe in it. And I've gotten a little bit more into numerology as well. And that thing is a little scary how accurate it can be in terms of, birthday and time of day and all this stuff. I'm not well versed in it, but I've had mine read and the accuracy of it was insane. What made you want to get into that a little bit?
I don't know if I'm into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued, but I ain't into it.
Yeah.
Right. Just experiences though, but I think the conversation of astrology goes way deeper than like people's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, the conversation of astrology is the conversation around God.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's a universal conversation. Matter of fact, I had a conversation with somebody this weekend. I'm assuming that watched the pod, and they were pretty offended by some of my perspectives.
On what?
Mainly religion. You know what I mean?
He said, of course.
Right. Whatever. They my fault. Y'all can't hear. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was obvious they had an issue with me, but I didn't want to talk about it, so I didn't care.
Sure.
Yeah, I just wasn't in the mood to have that conversation. But legitimately, like when you start breaking down like an astrological understanding, it's really an understanding of how the planets rotate,
sure,
how the seasons matter, and
the cosmos.
it is the conversation of God, right? Mm-hmm. What is it? Jesus and the 13 disciples, or the 12 disciples, mm-hmm, is really 12 months. That's what that represents. The mm-hmm, solstice is the return of the sun. That's Jesus. Like all this shit breaks down to the same thing.
Yeah.
And they wrote the Bible following those constructs. We go a little bit deeper, and the shit that we've been talking about for the last couple times we've been in here about aliens, and I always bring up the Anunnakis. Or the Anunnakis have a unique understanding of why those seasons matter, right? And how they bring value to said life that they were living on a quote-unquote another planet.
Can we talk about for a second then the level of intelligence that had to be present in people during that time? Right? We talk about this as the information age, and we have all these different resources and the internet and this, that, and the third. But the things that people were able to either discover, figure out, or create, and the way they've been able to line those things up in a way that makes a lot of sense. The level of intelligence that had to go into that back then with limited resources, limited tools, like.
I don't know if that's really true though either though.
Okay.
Right? Because we couldn't quantify the Anunnaki as people.
Mm-hmm.
It's what story you believe.
Sure.
Right? That's really as simple as that. But the human race was created via this story.
Right.
The Anunnakis, but as a slave race. Just to do work and labor that we don't feel like fucking doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they specifically designed you to be a worker. You know what I mean? So you didn't necessarily have information. You just was able to do what they told you to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But then there's different like qualifiers too of what that really means, right?
Sure.
So there's a lot of mythological stories or whatever. One of them is that, Anunnaki fell in love with one of these slave servants, had a baby by the slave servant, i.e. creating a certain race of people. There's levels though.
Different, right.
Right? So if you check black blood from the origin of time to today, you do not find any, what they call that shit? We're Homo sapiens sapiens. Then you got
Don't give me the line.
what's the caveman? What do they call him?
Hunter-gatherers?
No, damn, what's the name for the caveman? Oh man, I can't think of the name for it. But whatever that
I'm not
is,
gonna lie to you, I don't know.
whatever that is, black blood doesn't hold any of that blood.
Okay.
Right? You can still trace a genealogy to white people today, but you can't trace none of that in black people. Right? So when you start thinking about the logic of that, the caveman, the narratives of it, and the brute, know how to speak. Black people ain't never been that.
So easy, the caveman could do it.
Yeah, so easy a caveman could do it, right? I.e. though, the lower tier slave race,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Then you get into the context of black people, if you follow the stories, right? The Moors, the more refined, right? We brought civilization to the world. Now, that's not everybody's story. The Romans and the Greeks would like to say they brought civilization to the world, but they stole all that shit from Africa. You know what I mean? So if you think about it from those standpoints of those layered tiers, Anunnaki would be like God-like. Black people would be like underling, but not caveman-like.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
So we got a little more refined, but we're still mid-tier to these God-like beings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, can you give a little bit of a little synopsis of what the Anunnakis are? Because I've never heard of them, and so you start mentioning it, but I don't think you've ever kind of explained.
Conceptually, it's just it's another race of beings from another planet, right? Without going super deep, the story is that their planet was dying, but in order to survive on their planet, they had to mine gold, because gold does something to whatever atmosphere from whatever planet they was from. Earth at the time, Earth today has a plethora of gold, right? So as they search the cosmos for somewhere to go to find, it sounds like some Star Trek shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To find the shit, the element that we need that's gonna save our planet. Boom, we find Earth. We come down to Earth, we mine the gold, but this is it's like the building of America, right? This shit is hard labor. Why did the Europeans go get Africans? They're easily identifiable, and we don't want to do the work. You know what I mean? So the Anunnakis do the same thing. You know, they create a slave race to come do the work to mine this gold. In process of that, they make shrines to Anunnaki life, right? Even if we take it back another layer, and this threatens a lot of people's religion and all that type of shit. If we're the more refined version or the mid-tier under
Right.
the Anunnakis, we probably look more like them, we probably built more like them, we probably,
Sure.
you know what I mean? So when you start seeing sculptures and like, you think about like Mexico, you go deep into the history of Mexico, you find like Aztec sculptures,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
them is niggas. When you seen a Mexican with a nose to go across his face,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a reference point that we were everywhere. Or were they everywhere? You understand what I'm saying? Like we don't know, right? But all of the shrines to symbolism is something that more favors us than anybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they came here to mine gold to say they planted, and i.e. they left behind a race of people, right? Now the details of that shit gets real dynamic.
I mean, you see it, and it's like trying to pick up tea leaves from every little bit and piece of the story. And so you get things like hieroglyphics and like trying to encode and decode, like what does all this mean, right? And to this day, I mean, you have some semblance of hieroglyphic language and what this symbol may mean or that symbol may mean. But I think at its core, at its most basic level, these are the things that we can see. This is what I can carve into this damn stone to tell you what I saw. You know what I mean?
But again, right, we can go back in time to the Dogon tribe, right, where they can outline and map the entirety of the universe. Telescopes didn't exist. Nigga, you can't see a star in the sky of Chicago today. A star. It's rare. We don't think about this much. We don't pay much attention.
There's a lot of light pollution in Chicago.
Sure.
Places like New York.
Right, but we still don't see a star. You go to somewhere like Iowa, you look at the sky like, God damn, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they legitimately can map out the shit you can't see with the human eye.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck how clear the night was.
I mean, on clear nights, you can see stars, but not like in a place where there isn't such light pollution, where it's like, God dang, that's insane.
Sure, I'm referencing the Chicago, Iowa difference, but even without none of that, you can't map out to the T the cosmos. You know what I mean? Without no tools, no utensils. The pyramids. A brick on the fucking pyramid as big as this room, one brick.
Right.
They did not have the tools to move that shit up thousands of feet in the air.
Right.
I don't give a fuck how many people you got. You ain't picking that shit up, right? And then design it in a mathematical way that it aligns with the universe in the way that it does.
That's why I'm talking about the level of intelligence that had to be in these people. That's what I'm saying, in these beings. Like, how the fuck? You know what I'm saying? We can't replicate this shit now, and we got all the tools, all the instruments.
And what we don't even talk about, even the pyramids, right? We only see the top portion of the pyramid. The motherfucker's built into the ground at the same diameter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How high it goes up is how high it goes down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Most people don't even know that shit.
I didn't know that.
It's like an iceberg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can see the tip of an iceberg on the surface of the ocean.
Yeah.
That motherfucker is deep and wide.
Deep. Yeah. Yeah. So it's shit that we just can't explain. And I think, theoretically, Anunnaki could make it, to me, it makes more sense than the story of the Christian God or,
Let there be light.
Yeah, it don't make sense to me.
It's definitely all complicated. It's all complex, man.
Now people hear that and say, "Two don't believe in God." That's not necessarily true.
Have a different understanding of what God is.
Right. That's all.
Yeah. No, I'm under the same act. So in this like alignment of, because you sent the stuff, you put the stuff in the thing, and I thought it was interesting to look at and discuss, because so for Aries, you put you went all the way to our specific birthdays.
So this was more numerology than astrology.
Right.
Right. And it was just based on the numbers. I didn't know P's exact day.
Right.
But I know y'all's day. So based on the day, and it's funny around the numerology shit, and it's so much shit that's unexplained in the universe, but I agree with you, right? That numerology shit does matter. It does make sense. I remember I had a very unique experience at the mosque one day, right? We was doing the 10-10-15 thing, right?
Oh, I was going back through old pictures. One of them Instagram prompts to tell you to look back at 2015. When I went out to DC for the second Million March, I was so excited about it. I had the shit cut into my head.
That's all.
I had 10-10-15 cut into my head. I was so excited about that.
But there was an older guy, African guy,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know, maybe I was speaking one day or some shit. He must have been enthralled by some shit I said or something. I don't know. So he was like, "Man, what's your name?" I was like, Tucson? He did some numerology shit on his own. I didn't know that's what he was doing. He was like, man, this shit don't make no sense. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, man, what's your name? I was like, Tucson, motherfucker. He was like, what's your last name? I was like, Werner. So he did some other shit.
Hey, no, that's not
He's
making.
like, this shit don't make no sense. I moved on. I didn't know what he was doing anyway.
Right.
Maybe, you know how we used to meet there. I don't know how what the breakdowns were, but 2-3 meetings later, he comes to me again like, man, what's your name? I was like, Tucson. He was like, no, what's your name?
This can't be wrong.
Because this
can't be right. It's not adding up.
Right, and he never answered me for the 3 weeks prior to the shit.
Right.
And then I gave him my first name. Such and such Tucson Werner. He was like, oh, and he did it again. He's like, that makes perfect sense. And then he started breaking it down to me, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense to me too.
Not accurate.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it only happened to me once in terms of numerology, and I think you talking about brother. I'm bogus. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he's always into numbers, and he'd be like 23 and 23, and he was like always talking about just these numbers. When I had mine done, they were telling me about like the different numbers and what it means and all that, and the fact that 11 is a master number, and it means this in this context and this in other contexts, and I was like, no, and just how shit was aligning with everything the lady was saying, and she was like, we can do another one and go deeper, and I was like, I'm not ever talking to you again. We're never gonna have another conversation. This is insane. I just met you 30 minutes ago, and all I told you was I was born on April 11th, 86 at this time of day, and you just went crazy on me, and I feel very vulnerable right now, like because of how accurate it was, and so I did not talk to her again. I did not go back to figure out like more of this and like what else she could pull out of my personality, my experiences, my current state, prospects of my future state. I was like, hey. This scares me.
I think I'm glad you said it like that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's another conversation that needs to be had, right? I think we've been manipulated into these ideas of anything that's not aligned with white ideas, whether it's outright white ideas or not, we shun it. Right? No, that can't be right.
I didn't shun it. I couldn't shun it. There was no way to shun it. She was clearly right.
But hear what I'm saying, though. Like, it's just like we talked about the other day, like diamonds have no value. It's been a marketing campaign to devalue our history, our culture, all of that shit, so that you align with the theory of whiteness as God. Right? Why would you question it and all the other shit you're scared of, right?
Yeah.
Voodoo, niggas be like, ugh. No, that shit has value.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's more... it's funny, like, you know, I got to make a fucking clarifying statement, like, no, I do believe in God on here, right? But if I was to say I follow voodoo, motherfuckers would be looking at us like that's crazy. But that's really more in alignment with our culture than this Jesus idea.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And even the numbers concept, the math concept, math is the only universal language. So when you start thinking about that, numbers are just patterns. Life is just patterns. The seasons are just patterns.
Yeah.
Those patterns have meanings. If you can master the pattern, nigga, coding is patterns.
Right.
The computer is a pattern.
Music.
Information is a pattern.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you can master said patterns, you can move and navigate through any maze fairly effectively. You know what I mean? But if you don't master said patterns, you get stuck wherever you get stuck.
I was watching Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg was recently on Drink Champs, and they got a new project coming out. And they played a few of the tracks, and they shit sound hard. I can't
Boog is on there. Boog got a couple on there.
Shout out to Boog, man. You know how everybody at the end of the year put out their, Spotify, Apple Music, statistics and data or whatever, just about basically what they listen to. But he put out what his has been listened to, and it was insane. He was in the top 0.01% of all music producers. Like, in terms of, spins and downloads and listens and all that shit. Boog doing this motherfucking thing. Salute to you. Boog, keep rocking out.
Shout out to Lil TJ, Big TJ too. Their series is #1 on Netflix right now.
Yeah, man, Madness. #1 on Netflix since it dropped. Super dope. I was watching it. His ass be acting, man. His ass be acting his ass off, and he be getting into emotional scenes. I be like, he finna cry for real, ain't he? He got this I'm finna cry face when it's called for, and I be like, oh. But that shit was good too, though. When I was watching Dre, and Dre was talking about how there are only 12 notes right? And he was like, it's only 12. For every song you've ever heard, for every piece of music that's ever been made, it's only 12. Some mix of those 12 notes. I was like, damn, it's a lot of fucking music. I know you can make a lot of combinations with 12 numbers, but shit.
Music producers are like, it's really insane to me. Like when I've seen my brother just like create a song, like I remember for Sessions 101, he created a song just using his mouth, and he layered it, you know.
Yeah.
And so I feel like anybody that's like musically inclined, especially producers, are really, really like intelligent.
Yeah.
To some extent, you know what I mean? Like very, very intelligent. I think it's dope. But I wanted to ask, you were talking about, did I interrupt?
No, you good money. Let's roll.
You were talking about well, both of you talking about the numbers thing with numerology. How do you all feel about the idea that a person can tap into your subconscious then, or speak to your spirit to kind of identify where you are? So like this whole concept of like Reiki and stuff like that. Because I find that I'm very intuitive, right? And 9 times out of 10, you know how I'm always saying, like, we be knowing.
Yeah.
Like, you know things. So like, my concept or thought about, like, God and, like, where we stand in alignment with God is that we're part of God as a whole. I don't know if that's everybody, but I feel like we can pretty much tap into our own intuition.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. I feel like everybody got it. I don't know if they tap into it.
Yeah, everybody is not as in touch with themselves, or woke, I guess would be the word.
Right.
They didn't change the term woke also, I believe.
Sure.
But like, what do y'all think about that then?
So your birthday numerology thing says, one, you think you're different, right? And it says, but it also says you know exactly who you want to become, right?
I think that's different in and of itself.
Very cautious, very moody, very sensitive. You attract different people from different cultures, right? But I think it's that you know exactly who you want to become, right? So you think everybody knows. No, that's some shit that's unique to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Reiki shit I can't speak to. I've done it before. I didn't feel what they say you're supposed to feel. You know what I mean? I was like, you weirdo, white people, get away from me. But I did it. You know, I tried it. You know what I mean?
But less the Reiki healing, which I won't go into that, but less the Reiki healing, but more about the fact that someone can tap into the subconscious of others or into the spirits of others. I had an experience.
Maybe that's the concept of love.
Maybe, because I'll tell you what, like, I always feel like very in tune with other people's feelings, their energy, their spiritual level. Like, I can...
That's what George said on 2 Things.
Yeah, it did say that. And I've always felt that about myself. But one night, I was doing shrooms with my friends. And they say, like, whatever you feel, however you are, it's just heightened. And when I tell y'all, like, I felt so in tune with everybody's energy in the room, like, I felt like I could literally feel and experience what everybody in the room felt. And for a while, it was cool. And then after a while, I was like, okay, I don't want this no more. Like, I don't, like, it's heavy. You know what I mean? It's heavy as hell to feel what everybody in the room is feeling. Because then you kind of feel like you want to do something about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, you sad as fuck. Damn, you this as fuck. You anxious as hell. You whatever, right? And feeling all that. After a while, I literally just got up. I got one another room. I gotta go. I gotta get away from y'all ass. Because I could feel it that heavy within my own self. And I was like, damn, that shit was super wild.
I have people in my life who I can literally feel them. This is coming. Pause.
Let's pause it.
I'm just playing. No, but literally, like, I have people in my life who I can sense, maybe that's what I should have said, I can sense when they're, like, about to re-enter my life.
Okay.
Literally, like, I have a very long-term friend who, even when one time we weren't talking for, like, 9 months. And then I just felt it. And I told my friend, I was like, I'm gonna talk to him, like he's coming back or whatever. And literally, like later that day, we were sitting like on Maxwell Street or something like that, and here he goes walking across the street, and they're like, oh, there goes such and such, and then waved him up, and then we made up, and we were, you know, friends again.
They got this shit called the Celestine Prophecy. This is a real thing. The Celestine Prophecy it's a frequency thing, i.e. back to numbers, right? Y'all ever had the experience where you thinking about somebody and your phone ringing is them?
Yes.
Celestine Prophecy. Y'all just on a certain wavelength. Y'all on a certain frequency. So when you ask the question, I said maybe that's just love, right? So they, at that point, your frequency and XYZ's frequency is just in alignment. You know what I mean? And it don't got to be no romantic love. Like it just, you know, y'all are in tune spiritually. You know what I mean?
Sense because that person and the second person that's happened with is very much like a
they matter
situation. Yeah, they definitely matter.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, but again, right, the outward marketing concept is be afraid of these kind of energies, be afraid of these kind of things. Right. But in my mind, if you can tap into them, you godlike. Yeah. You know what I mean? I told y'all I went and got the Ifa reading. Right? Most people, Ifa is an African system of spirituality, but it's really the numbers. It's a numbers conversation, right? But in that, they make sacrifices to the gods. They, you know, most people look at that shit like, man, what kind of weirdo shit is you on? You know what I mean? But it's a numerology system. And even back to the Anunnaki. Think about Africa as a continent, right? It's before the colonialism, it's 100% black, right? But it's the genetically most diverse place on the planet before you add any other ethnicities.
We can already do everything.
Think about that shit, G. We all black, but we're the most genetically diverse place on the planet. You could put just Africans against Africans, and they're more genetically diverse than me and a Chinaman.
Right.
Logically, it don't make sense. Because the Chinaman looks different, he's built different.
Right.
But we're more genetic. Like you go, this tribe over here, and down the street, this tribe over here. And these motherfuckers is like they're from different planets.
Right. But that's, I mean, you see that in, even just in black Americans, you can see that. You can walk in any space, any classroom, any club, any whatever, and see so many different types of black people. And it's like, it's different from other races, right? It's just different from other, like the term tall, dark, and handsome. I never understood that when I heard it like from white people. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? None of y'all motherfuckers are dark. You know what I mean? But they talking about these little subtle changes in themselves where they can see, oh, that's a tall, dark. Or they talking about their hair color or shit like that.
Olive skin.
Yeah. Whereas us, we know exactly what the fuck it means. Tall, dark, handsome. Like, you tall, light, handsome. I'm tall, dark, handsome. Like, that different type of shit, right? And it's just like, oh, we can go from one end of the spectrum to the other. It's a comedian named Harold Pierre. Shout out to Harold Pierre. But he also makes some clothes, and one of the pieces he has, I think his most popular piece is called Shades of Us. And it just says black on it. And I got a couple of the hoodies and the hat, and it just spells out black, but in different color browns, and then black fades into the... Yeah, and they go from dark brown to this damn near white color.
I bought one of them. Shout out to you.
Yeah. So, you know.
But even little shit, like you think about the Maasai
Warriors.
Warriors.
Harold Pierre.
The Maasai Warriors, right? The Maasai Warriors are... The average person wouldn't know who they are, but when you see the images of the African tribe where they be jumping real high and they real tall, those are the Maasai, right? But then you got the Pygmies.
Right.
They don't get over 4 feet.
Right.
You know what I mean? Here's one group of motherfuckers that's 7 feet tall and can jump 9 feet in the air. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about that shit. These motherfuckers can legitimately jump 9-10 feet in the air, bro.
That's insane.
They're flying. And I'm talking about off the vert. This ain't even no running start. Off the vert, they 7 feet in the fucking air.
Yeah.
Right?
Different.
If you could master that shit, the NBA wouldn't be nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Off the vert, they get 7 feet in the air.
So, he referenced it earlier, but what you put in the thing about my number says, sensitive to others' energies, you soak in other people's energies. And like, going back to the love thing, we've joked about that just amongst ourselves for years, about how I care about other people's energy. You be like, man, fuck that shit. You know what I'm saying? And I care about how other people receive shit, or not perceive. I don't care how people perceive shit, but I do care how they receive something, right? If I'm actually trying to send you something. And because I feel people's energies. I know like if people feel happy or they feel slighted or they feel embarrassed or they feel I can really fucking feel it. And then going back to the love piece that you and E was talking about, I love you enough to I want to do something about it. You know what I'm saying? I internalize it in a way that says, what can I do about this? How can I fix this? And I've found myself as I've gotten older, like I just looked up one day and I'm like, damn, I'm kind of that like emotional stabilizer in my family now. Like I've gotten to that point. I don't think it's an age thing. I just gotten to that point in my family where that's the case. And so over the past, several years when we've experienced loss and death, I'm the emotional stabilizer. While everybody else gets to fall out, cry, go quiet for 2-3 days, whatever they got to do to be right, I'm just like that person and I feel everybody's shit and I'm trying to help them, for lack of a better term. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm not so much even in tune with, well, how the fuck do I feel about this shit? You know what I'm saying? And for the most part, not that people don't ask me or, be like, whatever, but for the most part in my family, I feel like everybody, because it's become that way, nobody be like, yo, how you feel about this shit? You know what I'm saying? But whatever, that's just how I am. It's whatever. I guess that's what the fucking numbers made me to be. What's interesting about the shit, and when you talk about what people choose to believe and not believe, you talk about frequencies and wavelengths and all that shit. That's all the fuck we live off now. You talk about Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and all that shit is. Well, you be like, shit, this shit say I'm on the right frequency and this shit say I'm on the right frequency. That shit should be linked up. We believe in it wholeheartedly. But to the point we talk about with E, like, oh, I know so-and-so finna pop up. That frequency is aligned and we don't believe it in the same way that we would believe, oh, I set my radio dial to 92.3, so Power FM finna come on. Like, of course it's finna come on. You set that shit to the right, you know what I mean?
I had a great transition, but I don't want to leave this topic. But I just want to use the transition to stay on this topic just to speak to it.
Go. We had enough of it. We can come back if we need to. Go.
I want to stay here for a minute.
All right.
But me and E was having a conversation starting the cameras up, and we was talking about the situation with Jay. And one of the things that E said was like, she was like, she just can't see why so many of us are so eager to take, i.e. one of our icons down. And my response to that was, like, I don't see him in that light. I'm only using this as a transition because when Herb speaks about frequency, because we've also had this conversation outside of the situation with Jay, but just in general about frequencies, right? And even when I was explaining to you, I was like, whether he did it or didn't, I said it's our problem, right? And the reason it's our problem because that's the frequency that we're tuned into. We don't even hear shit else, i.e. which validates him. It ain't even him. It's anybody that looks like a victory. That's the frequency we're tuned into. And what does victory look like? It looks like things. That's the frequency we're tuned into. But that frequency is very harmful, right?
Sure.
It's a documentary on Netflix right now, and I'm not leaving it. But there's a documentary on Netflix. It's about how much waste and gluttony we move through in corporate, right? They said that 1.3 million iPhones are made a minute, right?
That's insane.
They're also made disposable now, right?
Insane.
Apple has a patent on the screws that they use to make the iPhone. Not because they want to have special screws, but they don't want your ass to be able to fix it.
Right.
Because they want you to come back and buy another one.
Yeah.
They're designed with a battery life of 2 years to die, and you're forced to come back. So just conceptually, right, when I say frequency harms us, everybody want a fucking iPhone, everybody, and there's so much other shit, right? The iPhone number was amazing, but the clothing number was even worse than that. It was like 1 point something million tons of clothes being produced every second. How many fucking people on the planet, how much clothes you need?
7 days in the week, my
It
G.
don't even make no logical sense, right? But it's that much waste going in back into the environment, which in turn is why we can't see the goddamn stars, which in turn is why we got, we're dying of cancer, it's all harmful, but all of us are gluttonous for this frequency.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So when I say, yeah, I'm not really championing Jay like that, it's because I'm not bought and sold on those frequencies. I think those frequencies are harmful. But when I speak from the frequency I speak from, because motherfuckers ain't in tune with it, motherfuckers think I'm harmful, right? Now going back to the shit on where we were standing on our conversation with the numbers being.
Right.
My shit says, lover of change and variety, always on the go, freedom oriented, great communicator, but be very leery of your words because they affect people in the wrong way. How the fuck you a great communicator, but your words affect people in the wrong, you know what I'm saying? That ain't logical to me either. Because a great communicator wouldn't have that outcome unless I'm communicating to a frequency. I'm speaking Spanish to a motherfucker who don't understand it.
Yeah, there's a combination. There's like a lock. You know what I mean? Like a safe. And to unlock it, there's just this right combination. I have the message. How do I get it to you? You know what I'm saying? And I honestly think that's why we match so well, right? You have this information and this message that you want to go out. You don't really give a fuck how it goes out or how it's received, I mean. And then I bring in this other thing. It was like, well, I'm very empathetic to how people receive things. So I think what you have to say is so fucking important. I think it can help them on such a great level. How do we get around the fact that they can only hear it in a certain way? You know what I mean? And so I think there's a balance there that works well in most partnerships, be it, spousal, be it coach and assistant coach, be it, whatever, business part, but
a motherfucker that just can't hear.
Yeah, some people just fucking deaf, tone deaf.
Right, so even in the context of the conversation I just had about, I got to clarify, hey man, it's not that I don't believe in God, right?
Right.
I've had to answer that question from being on this show more times than, because it's almost an indictment to say I'm anti-religion.
Right.
You know what I mean? Specifically in our community. Black people don't fuck with that.
What you mean?
You know what I mean?
Fuck you mean?
But also in my conversation, I think I elevate God all the time. Because I love people. I love love. I love the universe.
But that's to understand what he was talking about the God within, right?
Right.
Most people don't understand that concept, right? To them, God is literally this mythical sky daddy, and he's hovering over shit. Not this spiritual, universal, energetic being that's implanted also within each and every one of us.
Like your God.
That empowers you to create your fucking circumstance.
Right.
And people also don't want that power either.
Because there's a responsibility.
There's a responsibility that says, hey, you dictate your outcomes. It's very, very easy for me to be like, oh, my daddy wasn't shit. My teachers wasn't shit. The government ain't shit. That's cool. And all that might be true. And still, you have the power, the authority, the autonomy to create the experience that you desire. And a lot of people do not want that responsibility. They do not want that pressure.
But back to frequency. We had Marshall Hatch Jr. on here, who's the pastor of a church.
Right.
Me and him got in a quick back and forth about me not rocking with religion.
Right.
And he asked me a specific question. I answered a specific question. He said, man, I rock with that. Here's a guy who's fully vested in religion, but also fully vested in the frequency.
Sure.
Right? So he can hear the conversation from me in a different way.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is that we're operating in a very low frequency. So regardless of what I say, oftentimes it's going to go to deaf ears.
Yeah.
Because we're just in tune with a different frequency.
So when you talk about the Jay-Z situation, and for reference sake, what we're speaking on is allegations have been made as naming Jay-Z as the most recent person to be alleged in some of the Diddy shit, right? In terms of having sex with underage girls and doing shit he ain't supposed to do in that realm. Lots of conversations have been had since then about his relationship with his now wife Beyonce and when they met, when they started dating. How old was he? Was he 31 and she's 17 or whatever the age difference is? And it's raised this moral question about who Jay-Z is in the community, right? And I get your point when you talk about, I don't think he's good for the community, right? And I've been a supporter of Jay-Z for a long time, right? And I do think he's done a lot of good things. And I don't argue with some of the things when you talk about the net negative. But when I look at that net negative, what I also see is that if it's not going to be Jay-Z, if it's not going to be Sean Combs, if it's not going to be who the fuck ever, it's going to be somebody. Because to me, all they really did, through whatever means, whether they were chosen or whatever, all they really did was ascend to the heights that everybody was in pursuit of anyway. Right? I don't know that they changed it. Now they greatly influenced it because they become the people. They become the thought leaders. They become the people who set the standard for what success looks like. But I don't think they were chasing something different. I don't think everybody else was going this way and them two niggas went that way. And then now they're like, oh, everybody turn around.
Frequency conversation, though, heard?
Mm-hmm.
One Night in Miami.
Sure.
You seen that movie?
Yes.
Y'all seen that movie, One Night in Miami?
I haven't.
So the premise of the movie, One Night in Miami, is this legitimately One Night in Miami.
Yeah,
right?
project.
But it's about some of the most renowned figures in black history at that moment in time.
Sure.
Was in a room, in a hotel room in Miami, and they was having this very in-depth conversation.
Who were the four?
So it was Sam Cooke,
Singer,
Malcolm X,
Malcolm X,
Muhammad Ali,
boxer.
Jim Brown, maybe.
I think that were the four. I think those were the four.
Yeah. So there's real images. This is a real night, right?
This is how the great song
Yeah, I read
Change
that.
Gonna Come was born.
So think about that. Malcolm X, Sam Cooke,
Jim Brown,
Muhammad Ali, arguably the greatest boxer to ever live.
Sure.
Arguably the greatest football player to ever live.
Sure.
Arguably one of the greatest leaders that ever lived.
Sure.
Arguably one of the greatest balladers, singers that's ever lived. Arguably.
Sure.
Right? And in their era, they were Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they were having this real in-depth conversation about the future of the black community.
You talk about having Jay-Z, LeBron James,
Floyd Mayweather, and fucking, I don't know, whoever in fucking football. Like, in one room having but think about this. They're having a conversation about their commitment to the black community. That's what the entirety of the night was about.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't get the room you just put together
right.
to have that conversation about that shit at all. Because the frequency would be about money. They would have a business conversation in that new
I
room.
want to be very clear. That was with complete disrespect to the first four that were named, because the latter four couldn't hold a candle to the first
original four.
No, they're not the same. Right?
It's not the same
There's not even a
thing,
Malcolm
right?
X to put in the conversation. First of all.
Right. Who we gonna put there? RZA Islam? 19 Keys? I mean, no disrespect to those fellas. You know what I mean? But it ain't the same.
The impact ain't the same. The following
It ain't the same, right? But legitimately, the conversation was their responsibility to our community.
Right.
And Sam Cooke, more than anybody, was really Jay-Z.
Right.
Sam Cooke was on some, man, fuck what y'all talking about. I'm getting this money.
I'm getting hoes and money.
I'm getting bitches.
Money,
I'm getting
cash,
money.
hoes.
Money, cash, hoes. Right? And he left that room embarrassed that he didn't have something
Of substance.
to provide to the community, which was the impetus of him writing Change Gonna Come. Change Gonna Come is my fucking favorite record today.
Yeah, you love that song.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but it's the fucking impetus, that conversation is the impetus that pushed him over to this frequency, right? All these other heroic, great Beach comes in here and speaks and we be amazed by Beach,
Yeah.
right? And Beach makes statements that are not fucking brilliant or genius, but you hear that shit, you like,
Damn.
God damn.
The man told me sacrifice is not a real word or a real thing. Well, he didn't say it wasn't real. He said the concept is not real.
It's not a real concept. It's a flawed concept.
You
right?
made a choice about what's more important to you. Ain't no sacrifice in there.
Yeah.
That's a great conversation to have too. I was just having that conversation or just asking someone about.
No, that's
But
It's a
Beach
very real
he
thing.
made a bunch of statements and reference point because people ain't seen Beach and don't know who Beach is, who don't watch the show. But Beach played with Jim Brown.
I was gonna say we talked about this with Beach.
Yeah.
About this movie.
Yeah.
This conversation with Beach because he was talking about his relationship with Jim Brown.
Because
Right.
in his lack of willingness to sacrifice or compromise his beliefs, because he always makes it very, very clear, I played football. Football was not who I was.
Right.
I did not identify
I
myself
played
as a
football. I
player.
wasn't a football player.
Right. And so to that end, They're on the bus with Art Modell, who owned the Cleveland Browns at the time, went on to be the Baltimore Ravens. Art Modell on the bus sees Beach reading a book.
Message to the Black Man by Elijah Muhammad.
Sees him reading Message to the Black Man and comes by and has the caucasity to tell this grown man, Walter Beach, hey, you can't read that book.
Put that book up.
Put that book up. Like, you can't read that book and play for my team. And Beach told him in the moment, like, I don't gotta play for your team. This is your team. If you don't want me to play for it, that's your decision. But I'm gonna read what the fuck I want to read, and right now I want to read this. They get back to the facility, true to his caucasity.
Yeah, see you later, motherfucker.
Our Modell,
bye,
like,
nigga.
You gone, nigga.
Bye, nigga.
I told you black ass not to read.
Bye. Pink slip, nigga.
I told you not to read, nigga.
Who taught you octagon?
Who taught you octagon? Right, exactly. Our Modell's like, you no longer a Cleveland Brown. Now, you reference Jim Brown as perhaps the greatest football player of all time. At that point, it was unquestioned.
Yeah, unquestioned.
At that point, it wasn't even nothing to talk about. Mm-hmm. With his whole career in front of him, you know, relative riches to the money at the time, Jim Brown tells Art Modell, you cut Walter Beach, you might as well give me my papers too.
Because I quit.
We not doing that. We not doing that. You're not gonna cut this black man because he was reading a fucking book. I'm standing on that. Now you got this whole thing going around now, standing on business and 10 toes down. You niggas wouldn't do shit like that.
Nothing like it.
You wouldn't do shit like that.
But I make these statements all the time.
LeBron wouldn't do shit like that.
No.
Who was the Mavericks that said we were not playing no more? The Bucks, whoever it was?
And LeBron said, yes, we are.
No, yes, we are.
But again, frequency is a motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
I watch all the smoke all the time. And Steven Jackson references himself as an activist.
Yeah.
Because he walked in the George Floyd march.
Yeah.
You're not an activist, bro.
Right, that was your homie anyway.
That's your boy.
Right.
Right? That's not who you are. But all it takes to be an activist
There's a platform.
is not just a platform, but a show of commitment to an idea one time.
Mm-hmm.
So if folks, it don't have to be a Jay-Z, it don't even have to be a LeBron, right? But if part of the plight of black people, right, is financial, right?
Right.
And there are folks in the room who feel that they have the capability to try to get some financing behind black people, is that, and I know I kind of have an answer to this question, but just for the sake of the conversation, like, is that a terrible thing for it to be part, if it's part of the plight, you know what I mean, of us, of our people? Because otherwise, to Herb's point, like, who will the people be? Who are the people then? Because if it's not Jay-Z, if it's not LeBron, and not saying that it should be, but if it's not them, then who? Like, I would imagine we have other people outside. It sucks that entertainers in general are the holy grail, right? That's how it's seeming to be made. But it must be some other folks that are not entertainers who
First of all,
have our best interests at heart, or are there not?
you want to ride or you?
I just like money in and of itself isn't the problem, right? Tu and I are not anti-money, right? Nobody's saying that liberation is to struggle and starve and nobody's saying that. Be comfortable, have the freedom to live as you want to live and the resources to do so.
Right.
Talking about our relationship to the money and then what that causes us to do in terms of how it influences our decisions and how it influences our relationship to our own people. And therein lies the problem with how we...
That's the totality of the conversation.
But what I'm saying is, okay, taking money out of it even. Like, it has to be other people outside of there being, entertainers though. So, like, who are those people?
So we them people, right? They exist, right? Mm-hmm. But it's back to the conversation of frequency. Like, if we take the One Night in Miami movie as an analogy, those 4 guys in that room had more money than everybody in the black community at the time, right? But 3 of the 4 had a relationship to money that was very different than one of the 4. Right. Had a very different relationship to success than one of the 4. The one of the 4 is really Sam Cooke, is really representative of how we relate to status, success, wealth today. I got bitches, I got Cadillacs, I'm living good, nigga.
It's something that Muhammad Ali understood well, right? So you talk about, like, you ask who are those people, when you are a part of that conversation every single week on this podcast. All we talk about is black unity and black liberation and overcoming our current circumstance. That's what we talk about all the time. It's not heard to the masses because we're not talking about money, cash, hoes like Jay-Z is.
We're not in tune to the frequency.
It's a different frequency that they own, to where Jay-Z could have that conversation to reach the masses if he was in tune to that frequency. And again, I've been a proponent of him, but Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali were. But Muhammad Ali understood something different.
So you don't think that any of those people are having a conversation other than money, cash, hoes?
I don't.
Okay.
I think they have it in the way that they know how to have it, right? I think they do things that they know how to do it in. I think Jay-Z says, "Oh, I got Meek Mill off his bid." Like, that's cool. You know what I mean? He does have his prison reform thing. I don't know the inner workings of it that well, but I think they do it on the level that they know how to do it, some of them. But too often references a quote from Muhammad Ali when he was doing an interview, and dude questioned him on this very thing. He's like, "Man, you always talk about this for the people shit, this, that, and the third, and you this, that, and the third, but you drive a Rolls Royce." What Ali tell him?
Actually, I drive 2.
I drive 2 Rolls Royces. Get it right. He's like, and I have those things because if I didn't have those things, the people wouldn't listen to me. They wouldn't view me as successful enough to follow.
Now, I'm going to juxtapose that statement to a Jay-Z statement. Mm-hmm. Truthfully, I want to rhyme like common sense, but I made $5 million and I ain't rhyme like common sense.
Ali, like, I made the $5 million, and I'm going to show you.
And I'm going to keep rhyming like common sense. You know what I mean? There's a difference in philosophy. And again, this ain't even about, I hate the fact that how we have conversations. And I want to, I'm coming to these transitions, but I don't want to lead the conversation.
The communication versus how people, the good communicator versus how your words are interpreted.
To the point of the common sense line, and I was thinking about just how we cool transitions, right? Ali has a house. It's still a monument to blackness in the city. Mm-hmm. That is right. I could walk to that house from my house. Yeah. Right? He was Muhammad Ali at that time.
So Woodlawn.
Right? It's legitimately next door to Operation Push. Elijah Muhammad was Elijah Muhammad. His home is it's a beautiful neighborhood, but it's our neighborhood still. Mm-hmm. Right? Where does Jay live? Not saying Jay, just the reference point, but it's the difference in philosophy. Right. You know what I mean? When we move up, we move out. When they moved up, they built around. Right. You know what I mean? Right. It was a different, and some of that was forced. Most of it was forced, right? Because they couldn't go other places, right? I don't know if it was the One Night in Miami, but it was some other movie where Jim Brown goes back to his hometown. This white man was praising him. He went to walk into the white man's house. He said, "No, nigga."
Come on, Jim.
Come on, Jim.
You know niggas aren't allowed inside.
You know niggas aren't allowed inside the house. 5 minutes ago, he was praising them.
Said it to him just like that.
Still was praising them. But understand your place, nigga, right? But again, I think how we have conversations is flawed. And this is the transition part I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. The other day, comedian Andrew Schultz said that he was going to fuck Kendrick Lamar. Well, all it started from a statement that Kendrick made in his raps, one of his raps, right? Yep. But Kendrick said no more allowing white comedians to demolish black women. Yeah. And he was referencing Andrew Schultz, but he was referencing Andrew Schultz when the black podcast was on the show and they was having that conversation, right? Now people also know Andrew Schultz's relationship to Charlemagne. Everybody I've heard have that conversation was having that conversation in context to Andrew Schultz and what Andrew Schultz did and Andrew Schultz responds. Kendrick wasn't talking to Andrew Schultz. He was talking to the niggas who keep sitting next to him. Therein lies the difference, right? So even when I speak about Jay, or even when it's us who sit in the room. Nothing they do would matter if we stop sitting in the room.
That's why I was saying earlier. Individually, they don't matter. It's the overall frequency that the society is tuned into. Because if it wasn't Jay-Z, it'd be ZJ or whoever. It'd be another motherfucker.
Right. But that's the frequency that we're in tune to. Right. And that's the argument I keep making. We keep sitting in the fucking room.
Yeah.
Right. And because we keep sitting in the room and because we keep feeding off those energies and because we keep feeding off that specific frequency, we keep getting the results we keep getting. So when people say that Jay do it or Jay didn't, I would hope he didn't. But that is that frequency. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day. Just like, we just walking talking bullshit. And they was like, man, such and such is very good at business. And they was like, but he a dirty motherfucker. And my next statement was, well, those two things go hand in hand. It's almost impossible to be the other motherfucker. It's almost impossible not to be a motherfucker to take advantage of people.
When you're trying to beat everybody
and
at
not
the
be, you know what I mean? You can't be good at business and not be unwilling to take advantage of people. The very construct of capitalism needs 85% of the populace to fail so 15% can survive.
The size of the pie itself stays the same.
Always.
Only your slice changes.
The very essence
How can I steal more of your
and
slice?
nature of success in that system requires you to take advantage of. So when you hear larger looming statements of taking advantage of, for me, they're not far-fetched.
Yeah.
Right? We sat in front of the cameras year before Puffy got indicted. And I said, Puffy's getting indicted.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Now, some people might say, oh, that nigga, you know, saw that shit in the future. No, nigga, have you heard the stories? And it wasn't about the rape or nothing. But he's been taking advantage of people for a very long time.
Facts.
Right? But because he has so much money, because he has so much power in said system, in said frequency, he still heralded. People just deal. Right? Why wouldn't that be the behavior set for most of that system? If we see it happening with him, right? The Shine comes out a couple weeks ago, was like, man, Puff shot them people. The girl who got shot said, I saw who shot me.
Right.
Puff shot me. When they go to trial, Puff has a different lawyer, but he's a money man. All these are symbols and signs of the kind of man he is. Right? So no, I can't say Puff took advantage of girls. I can't say he whooped girls' ass. But when I
can say
hear
whoop girls' ass.
No, after we saw it.
Right.
But even if I had never seen it, if somebody said it, it wouldn't be far-fetched for me because these are the behavioral traits that he has exhibited.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in regards to girls. At that time,
Sure.
I ain't seen him punch out a girl. At that time, I ain't seen him rape an underage.
But you knew.
But why would I think that was far-fetched from a motherfucker who move in these other sectors just like this?
So, for me, I'm very sensitive to such like allegations and shit like that. I'm just like, that's to me because I view that as this level of crime, like the top of the top. I say all the time, there's only two crimes that I find indefensible. Any other crime you do, I could find a reason for you to have done that, and I could find a way to defend you from that or for that. When you talk about rape and you talk about abusing kids, there's no way to defend that.
You gotta put qualifier on abusing kids. Like punching them out is wrong?
Yeah.
Oh. I punch the shit out of my children.
No, I didn't say punching kids. I didn't say that. I didn't say punching kids.
Ooh, wow.
I am pro beat your kid ass if your kid is tweaking. Right? I'm talking about abusing them. That's why I chose the word abuse. I ain't say discipline or you discipline them.
I'm just talking shit.
However you want to within the line before you get to abuse. But if you are abusing kids in any way, inexcusable, indefensible, and if you rape a person, man, woman, child, indefensible. I don't have no, anything else you do, literally anything else you do, I could find a reason for you to have done that. And so, because I have that standard of those particular crimes, I don't throw those allegations on people lightly, right? That needs to be proven, especially in this day and age where allegations are thrown around so freely.
So check this out, though. I think this is very interesting. If we think about R. Kelly, right? And I'm only referencing R. Kelly because we're from Chicago, right? We got some Kentwood graduates in here. You know what I mean?
Should have been a Dolphin.
Yeah, whatever. There was rumors of R. Kelly riding around Kenwood before he was
Oh, everybody knew that, man.
famous, right?
Everybody in Chicago knows.
Picking up young girls, right? So this is not a, if you're in the city,
Everybody in Chicago knows.
everybody in Chicago knows, right? So if you're in the city, you like, oh, this is what it is,
Right.
right?
Right.
The video comes out, there were people from Chicago, in Chicago, protesting like that ain't Rob.
Right.
But that's been Rob's moniker from the jump.
Right.
So when you hear about the video existing, it ain't far-fetched for me to believe that
It wasn't surprising.
he's on the video peeing on some little girl,
It wasn't surprising.
right? Context is a motherfucker though,
Right.
right? Jay-Z has a lot of shit that Rob don't have.
Sure.
Rob doesn't have a public wife.
Sure.
Rob doesn't have public business interests. Rob doesn't even play politics. He
Right.
doesn't do none of that socially acceptable shit.
He's not smart.
True, right? Jay does.
He's not intelligent.
But now
say.
let's pull back some more fucking layers though.
Right.
Right? Jay-Z made Hawaiian Sophie when he made Ain't No Nigga.
Mm-hmm.
There was rumors he was fucking Foxy Brown. Foxy Brown was 15 years old at that time.
Sure.
Jay was 29.
He was an adult.
You know what I mean?
He was a
He
grown
was
man.
picking up from high school.
Yeah.
There was rumors back then he was fucking Foxy Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
After that, there was rumor that him and Dame both fucked Aaliyah. Aaliyah was born in 1979.
Mm-hmm.
Jay-Z was born in 1969. Aaliyah died at what, 21?
Mm-hmm.
22, some shit like that? I don't know what it was exactly, but if he was fucking on her, at the time, the math wasn't mathing.
I mean, this was after she was married to Kebs.
I'm not justifying none of the behaviors. I'm
not
saying,
either. I'm saying-
these are all rumored to happen.
Mm-hmm.
All of this shit has been rumored to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only using it to juxtapose how us who live in Chicago know rumors about R. Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But he does not have all this other socially acceptable shit that makes you say, I don't want to believe it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
We got two public. We got Foxy Brown.
Mm-hmm.
We got Aaliyah.
Aaliyah.
Those are factual. I don't want to say they're factual. There's rumors that Rockefeller don't exist because of Aaliyah. I don't know. Right? I don't know.
What's that one?
Dame was in love with Aaliyah.
Right, but why
But
does
so is
Rockefeller only
Jay.
exist because of that?
Because Dame pulled her from Jay. That's the story.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay was like, I'm Jay. You know what I'm saying? Right? But he got an ego. That's not a rumor. He moves like that too.
Sure.
I'm Jay, nigga.
Sure.
You know what I mean? There's also rumors that he groomed Beyonce. Whether groomed or not, it was public when she was 19.
Mm-hmm.
They say he met her on the set of, there's been several interviews and articles where Beyonce said, I don't know, I was
They be all over the place.
Yeah, they all over the place. It ranges from like
What the fuck is y'all mean, goddamn?
16 to 19.
Right.
Because of this new situation around him,
Sure.
there's a clip of them on
VH1.
the VMAs or some shit. And they was like, when'd y'all meet? Both of them niggas is like deers in the headlights,
Who
don't know how
wanna
to
take
answer
that?
the question.
And she took it first, and then he took it and like curved it.
Right? But even if she was 19, my nigga, you 31.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Granted, that's legal, but my nigga, you're 31. My son is 19 now. If a 31-year-old woman knocked on my door talking about, Eric, come on, bitch, I'm gonna kick a hole in your chest.
I mean,
And that's a boy.
it's the conversation we had about what's Shorty to play for the Rockets, Jalen Green and what's her girl name? Drea.
Cha-ching Green.
Cha-ching Green, the baby name Cha-ching Green.
Baby
right.
named Cha-ching Green.
Right. That conversation, right? And but you know, that's tough for me. You know, I like older women. I don't. This idea of liking some 19-year-old girl is insane to me. Like, it's just
And you Jay-Z. You know when pussy come your way?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You gotta like 19-year-old girls. Like that's
You do.
That's you know.
And you probably didn't start at 19.
I don't. That's you know.
I don't know, man. Hey, I hope it's not true, but you know, look, you know, hey,
I may. We'll
that
see.
meat is greasy.
We will see, man. More will continue to come out about that as time goes along.
I know we're gonna get out of here real quick, G. I just want to throw this into the mix, G. Maybe a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, and there's a lot of other shit happening politically, but we ain't got time. maybe 2 weeks ago, though, Hunter Biden got a pardon from his daddy.
Yeah.
I implore every nigga that can read
To read his case?
to go read that fucking caseload. Hunter Biden needs to be under the jail.
What's in his case
And
file?
not only does he need to be under the jail, it bothers the fuck out of me that the man who architected the 94 crime bill
Oh, yeah, locked up a generation of black folks.
this degenerate motherfucker go, even though he's your son. But there's another thing that's being hidden too. I can't think of the reporter's name, but there was a clip floating around, and it says, whatever this reporter name is, turns on Joe Biden.
All right.
Then there's these clips of how much he supported Joe Biden throughout the trajectory of
The campaign and all that.
of his presidency. Mm-hmm. But I want to bring it back to me being on a different frequency and motherfuckers not listening to me. Mm-hmm. When Joe Biden ran for president, I told every motherfucker that was listening, something's wrong here. Mm-hmm. I said, the man never won any primary. How the fuck is he the president? How does he get the nomination? Mm-hmm. Bernie was winning the primaries. Mm-hmm. He was whooping their ass, right? They got to South Carolina, and James Clyburn changed the numbers on their ass.
The black dude.
The black dude. Right. He's another coon.
Super.
Right? But my point is, there's rumor with this reporter dude, I can't remember his name. He was like, man, these motherfuckers operated in collusion to make this motherfucker the president. And he played the long game for a plethora of reasons, but it also goes back to frequency, right? We just come off of Obama presidency. Obama is heralded and loved by the world. But Obama was a shit person, and he did shit to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to say that out loud because everybody looked at his goddamn tan suit and don't know his fucking politics,
Look at this
right?
tan suit.
But Joe Biden was his sidekick, right? Mm-hmm. But I had the conversation here, had the conversation with you, right? The reason why Joe Biden was his sidekick, because he was the racist, dirty motherfucker that he always had been. And they needed a motherfucker that would appeal to that element of community to make Obama the president.
Sure.
Right? So the argument is, one, Bernie can't win because Bernie's a threat to Wall Street. Mm-hmm. And Wall Street makes the real rules. Mm-hmm. Biden's going to play with Wall Street. He's going to abide by the Wall Street rules.
Sure.
And we can make this motherfucker the president, and he'll be the president because in the long run, all he really wants to do, they say the man ran only because he knew he had to pardon his son. Think about it. The nigga entered the campaign late. All of the shit aligns with
Great motivation.
This was not my goal here.
He's 107. It couldn't have been his fucking goal.
But the motherfucker who architected the crime bill.
Yeah. What's the most egregious thing in the Hunter Biden profile? Quickly.
This ain't even, he didn't get locked up for this. You can't get locked up for it, but it's the most egregious to me. Your dead brother dies, you go fuck his wife and get addicted to crack cocaine.
Say less.
That's pretty fucking bad. You can't get more degenerate than that. I fucked my dead brother's wife and made the bitch a crack addict.
There you have it, good people. We got.
Now you can just imagine the other shit he did.
No, that's it. That's it, man.
Damn.
We gotta go, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in to this episode of Herb and Tool. Hope y'all found it informative. Please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the page. Set the alerts so you get reminders when we drop new content, and be sure to share it with at least one person that you think would add value to or find value in this particular conversation. Huge shout out to P.I. He is doing all of the hard work behind the camera. Shout out to E4O for being E4O for Tool. I'm Herb. Y'all be good to each other. Peace.
Assalamu alaikum.